Sidney Patrick Crosby was born August 7, 1987, and raised in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. Crosby's dad was a goalie drafted by the Montreal Canadiens in 1984.
Well, I'm very proud, obviously, but also I'm amazed at some of the things that I see. I don't know where he learned that from, because it wasn't from me. But
it's great. I mean, he's been through it all, so he knows what it takes, and he knows what you need some luck, but you also need to be good too. So along the way, he teaches me a lot.
Which gave Sid something to shoot for. At 2, Sidney used the dryer for target practice, and at 3, he was on skates. By 14, he was playing with the midget AAA Dartmouth Subways, and local media hyped him as a future superstar.
When I scored 159 goals, I knew then that maybe I had a special scoring touch or something. I think that was the point when I realized that I should take this game seriously.
And it's getting more serious every year. He's just 14, and already he's playing midget AAA hockey. Most of the guys on his Dartmouth team drive and shave. Sidney Crosby doesn't do either. What he does is dominate this league. Most players are at least 3 years older.
He's probably one of the most talented individuals I've ever coached or been around, just for his ability to bring the play to the opponent and make things happen every shift. Things happen every shift when Sidney Crosby's on the ice.
However, even then, opponents targeted him with abuse.
But he's found a way to deal with it, even though frustration occasionally gets the best of him.
The game they're playing isn't my game. My game is making plays and making things happen and scoring goals. And if they're doing things to prevent me from doing that, then they're doing their job and I'm not doing mine.
Crosby escaped to Minnesota in 2002 to play for Shattuck St. Mary's boarding school. He assisted them in winning the U.S. National Championship, but wasn't able to help Team Canada medal at the 2003 Under-18 Junior World Cup. Back in Canada for 2003-2004, he was drafted first overall by the Rimouski Océanique of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Among the honors bestowed on Crosby during his 2 seasons in the QMJHL was the Rookie of the Year award, as well as the Jean Beliveau Trophy for high scoring. In 2004, Sid ignored a $7.5 million contract from the ill-fated World Hockey Association in favor of an NHL career. He then made back-to-back appearances on Canada's World Junior team, where he won silver in 2004 and gold in 2005. 2005 also saw him lead Rimouski to a President's Cup victory. Thanks to his on-ice skills and off-ice character, Crosby was a top prospect. When a work stoppage canceled the entire 2004-2005 NHL season, a lottery was established to assign the first pick. The Pittsburgh Penguins won the Sidney Crosby sweepstakes, and he made his debut for them on October 5, 2005. Crosby briefly played alongside legend Mario Lemieux, who mentored him and allowed him to live with his family for the next 5 years.
I love it. I mean, he's got 4 kids. It's a pretty busy household, but it's nice to be away. When you're away from the rink, you get your mind off things, and there's probably no better way to do it than having 4 kids running around.
It'll ground you.
Yeah, it's definitely
Do you have
fun.
dinner with them?
Yeah, sometimes I think. With a lot of guys being so young on the team, we'll go for dinner some nights, but I spend a lot of nights there too, especially maybe before games and things like that. You just want to relax.
Crosby's NHL presence was already solid when, midway through his first season, he was moved from the wing to center. He was also named assistant captain, despite criticism that, at 18, he wasn't experienced enough. His reputation for whining to officials, as well as the 100 penalty minutes he banked that season, also highlighted his youth. That year, the Pens posted a league worst record. Washington Capital Alexander Ovechkin overshadowed Crosby's accomplishments by nabbing the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year. After Crosby and Canada failed to medal at the 2006 World Championships, he and new teammates Evgeny Malkin and Jordan Staal began turning things around for the Penguins.
Gets it over to Malkin, to Whitney, to Malkin, and he sees the seam, and Crosby comes in and just stiffs it in the net. What fantastic passing
Their decent 2006-2007 season ended with elimination in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Crosby's stellar year earned him the Hart Memorial Trophy, the Lester B. Pearson Award, and the Art Ross Trophy. Within months of becoming the youngest ever NHL captain, Crosby signed a 5-year, $43.5 million contract extension with Pittsburgh. His next season was shortened by injury, but not before he showed off his aggressive side with a Gordie Howe hat trick. He rejoined the Pens before the playoffs, but the Detroit Red Wings eliminated them in the finals. 2008-2009 was Pittsburgh's year. Crosby finished third in scoring and led his squad back to the finals. This time, they emerged victorious over Detroit in 7 to give number 87 his first Stanley Cup. When things couldn't get better, Sid the Kid won gold for Team Canada at the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics by scoring an OT nail-biter against the United States.
Again, let's Crosby score! Sidney Crosby, the golden goal! And Canada has once in a lifetime Olympic gold!
And I'm going back not too long. 2010 Vancouver, Sid the Kid scores the winning goal for Canada.
Oh, I mean, Sidney Crosby. When I was there, I was there, scoring overtime.
Sidney Crosby scores the goal that gives us the gold, that gives us the record amount of gold medals. It was like just the way it played out was unbelievable.
I sat in my Best Western hotel and watched Sid the Kid pop the winner and ran around the room by myself, went outside and listened to the entire small town of Northern Ontario celebrate.
It's us versus the Americans, so everybody's really rooting for us. You know, they're like, well, that's Canada's sport. That's and they're on their home soil.
There's just so much joy to be had by watching someone fulfill a lifelong dream.
Back in the NHL, Crosby's scoring and leadership earned him awards, but his team stalled in that year's playoffs. Crosby's hockey future was jeopardized when he suffered a concussion during the Winter Classic on January 1, 2011. After fighting symptoms for months, he was permanently back in the lineup in mid-March 2012. The Pens soon re-signed their franchise player to a 12-year, $104.4 million contract. As a multiple record holder, successful spokesman, and one of the greatest players to grace the ice, Sidney Crosby is one of the faces of the new NHL.
The game on his stick. Score!
Oh, what a brilliant move.
He scores! Wow, he can shoot the puck like a needle. Bullseye! Sidney Crosby!
Hockey is as cold and unforgiving as the surface upon which it is played. To reach its highest levels, to be drafted into the NHL, requires drive, focus, and a lifelong tolerance for pain. To become a superstar in this league requires much, much more. In 2 short years, Sidney Crosby has shattered expectations.
Sidney Crosby!
In his own words, through his own eyes, this is Sidney Crosby.
First, I had to learn how to skate before I started playing. Funny thing is, I always wanted to be a goalie. I remember asking my dad to play goalie, and he said, "Listen, you're probably gonna have more fun chasing a puck around than standing and freezing in the net where you're not gonna get too many shots." So I think it was the right choice. Each year growing up, I was lucky enough to play on a good team, and I remember we just would win every single year. We had a lot of fun.
teenage years, Crosby's numbers were so staggering that he became national news in Canada.
I've probably had 3 or 4 nights of, really, everything just seems to go in. In my first game of junior, that was just every pass you made, the guy would put it in, and every shot you take, hit a skate and go in. Those are the nights when you want the puck even more, and you really enjoy those ones. With the lockout, the focus turned towards junior hockey.
You're hot stuff out there on the ice.
I think in a way that might have been the best thing, because it prepared me a little bit. I felt pressure, but I was excited the fact, hey, I'm getting the opportunity to go to NHL camp here and live my dream, so I just tried to enjoy it.
At that NHL prospect camp, Wayne Gretzky issued a bold prediction that Crosby might be the one to break his records.
All in all, I think if there's anyone out there that has an opportunity, he's the guy.
By the time the 2005 draft arrived, Crosby sweepstakes.
Sidney Crosby.
I was pushing for Pittsburgh and hoping that was the case. I mean, who wouldn't want to play with Mario Lemieux? I was lucky enough, that ball came out and it was Pittsburgh. Our expectations were so high. I mean, people were talking about the Stanley Cup.
Gianna scores, it's 3-0 Devils.
You go from thinking about the Stanley Cup to, we just got to get our first win here.
The Penguins' downward spiral continued for months. Changes were made, and worst of all, Mario Lemieux retired with an irregular heartbeat.
We had a tough year as a team. There's no doubt we had a rough time, especially in the second half, knowing you're not in the playoffs. That was tough for me. I'd never not made the playoffs or made it to the last game of the season. In the end, I think it really made me stronger mentally. Tried to make it a point of improving ourselves even though we weren't in the playoffs, and really finishing strong, and we did.
Crosby ended the season with 102 points. The youngest to score 100 ever. But one rookie did even better.
With Ovechkin, it's something that I'm Canadian, he's Russian. It's just, it was a great storyline. It's great for hockey. It's great that people, want to see us go against each other. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a great player, so I think it probably brings the best out of us.
Rookie of the year.
He had a better year. I mean, that's just the way it was, and so he deserved it. And going into the next year, I just wanted to be better. I mean, it didn't mean getting more points. It just meant, better on faceoffs, better defensively. Try to take that 1 year of experience and make sure when I come in, I don't make those same mistakes early on. But as far as the Calder, I don't think it was something that I was really worried about.
Ovechkin and Crosby are really skilled players. They're different, but both very skilled. And I think Crosby is he's so smart. He makes other players really dangerous. Ovechkin could be a threat just himself against, 2 or 3 guys. So they're different, but both very hard to play against.
I think Crosby, more around hockey player. I think as a pure goal scorer, Ovechkin, some of the goals that he scores are unbelievable. But, an all-around player, I think Sidney Crosby has the edge on him.
The new NHL is, I think, just speed. I mean, that's what comes to mind, speed and skill. I mean, with the new rules, you really allow skill to really show. That's fun. That's hockey. I mean, with the obstruction and things, that's part of it. You have to be tough to play the game for sure, but I think that's hockey when it's the most pure, is when you're able to see that speed. And I think as a fan, you want to see goals.
In front,
it's just so intense, and every team is so good that it's really fun, I think, now to really be watching hockey and following it.
Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, two stars who changed the game of hockey. Two names with which Sidney Crosby will forever be linked. In his second season, with the new NHL on his shoulders, Crosby played like a more rugged version of the two superstars who came before him. He became a game changer, a force to be reckoned with at all times.
Rebound, Crosby, slam dunk.
This is how.
Crosby moving in and a shot, he scores! Sidney Crosby! Here's Crosby on a breakaway, the game on his stick!
I try to look at the holes when I'm shooting. I try not to look at the goalie too much. I try to look at the spots where I'm shooting, and once it becomes a little more natural, you can start to look at tendencies of goalies and where they lean. An example would be when I scored that goal on Theodore.
Crosby scores!
I seen him lean one way, and I knew that if I went the other way, you know, I'd have him. That's just adapting. I think that's just the way, as a forward, you have to try to adjust. I think whenever you're playing, it's reaction. I've always tried to react quick, and on those plays, you're against four guys, and maybe sometimes you probably shouldn't keep the puck. You should probably get it in or make a pass instead of trying to beat four guys.
Goes to the net, scores! Sidney Crosby!
I guess the best way to describe it would be a running back, and if you see a hole, you have to try to attack it and see if you can get through there, and sometimes you're going to get hit, sometimes you're going to lose the puck, but the odd time I was able to get through. Use your instincts. I mean, sometimes I'm going to dump it in, but there's times where you have a lot of speed, and on those plays, I just reacted. On the one I slid, I mean, I look back on that play, and I think, geez, I'm lucky. If I didn't hit the net, you know, I wasn't even thinking, but if I didn't hit the net, I would have been face first into the boards.
Recchi down the wing to Crosby in front, he scores!
Those are just things you don't really think about. You react and hope they go well.
With his incredible reaction and vision, Crosby closed in on the scoring title by the end of his second season.
Scoring title, that just comes with, I think, for me, having a mindset of winning. Doing everything I can in my power to help my team every night. And I know if I do that, then, you know, points are going to come. The best way I approach is to do whatever I can to help my team. There's going to be times where you have tough stints where you don't score and, you know, your team's winning and everything's fine. You just got to make sure that you don't let it go on too long, because eventually, if you're looked upon to do that and you're winning, you know, it might run out. So as far as that's concerned, I just try to make sure that each night I'm bringing what I can in order to help.
Sidney Crosby!
Sidney as a player is disgusting, sick, gross. I would say he's probably the most electric player in the National Hockey League. He does things on skates and tries things in games that nobody else will try.
Now Crosby, he scored from the seat of his pants.
They beat us 7-2 last year, and they beat us because everybody was just like watching them like, did you see what that kid just did? Did you see what that kid just did? Holy crap, did you see what that kid just did? That's Sidney Crosby.
Hockey is played on a 200 by 85-foot surface, where objects in motion tend to stay in motion, unless persuaded to stop. It's been called the world's fastest game, but that speed has one major consequence: impact. Playing in the NHL means playing with pain. Enforcers are the size of linebackers. Intimidation is policy. There are no soft surfaces. This is a reality Sidney Crosby is more than aware of.
Playing injured is just something that's just the way it is. You don't really think about it, and until you get hit, it's not something you really worry about. My broken foot was against Montreal. It was in late March. Brooks Orpik took a slap shot. I just tried to stop it with my skate, and it got up in the air and hit me on the boot instead of on the actual blade of my skate.
Up top, Orpik, slap shot, and hit something in the way, and maybe Sid.
And I just knew, I said, this is not good. I remember my trainer coming off, and I was almost laughing, and I was in so much pain. I was, swearing and everything on the bench. I knew then that this is not good, but when it came to the playoffs, my foot wasn't even an issue. I was going to do whatever it took to play.
With few even aware of the injury, Crosby scored 5 goals and 9 assists to lead the team to its first playoff berth in 6 years.
The difference between playoffs and regular season is intensity, speed, just the desperation.
It's a powder keg in the corner.
I think that series against Ottawa just made us realize what playoff hockey is. You can prepare as much as you want, but until you're in it and you feel it, you really don't have an idea. So I think that just made us want it even more.
Centering pass, Crosby, bullseye! Sidney Crosby.
Despite the Game 1 loss, Pittsburgh rebounded in Game 2.
The most fun I've had was winning, Game 2 in Ottawa last season. Seeing that last minute, every guy dive face first in front of the puck, first round of the playoffs. I can only imagine what it's like in a Stanley Cup final, but that's when it's the most rewarding, and that's when you see really what guys are willing to do for each other is in the playoffs, and a team's true colors come out during that time. So I would say that atmosphere and that intensity is so fun. It's so fun to be a part of a team during that time.
Crosby tasted victory at the next level.
And the series is even.
But ultimately, this first playoff experience proved to be one more harsh lesson in his accelerated NHL education.
Alfredson to the front, score! Shaver to the front, Fisher fires, oh! Vermette to the goal, but he scores! Sidney Crosby, there will be better days for him and for the Penguins.
We knew we weren't far off. They went all the way to the Stanley Cup final. I think it made us realize what we needed to improve on, and gaining that experience, when you go into a situation like that, you can't afford to sit back, and I think that next time we go in, we'll have a better attitude and better mindset.
At just age 19, Sidney Crosby becomes the youngest scoring champion in the history of North American pro sports, and as a result wins the Art Ross Trophy. And while impressive on its own, he also wins the Hart Trophy as the league's MVP and the Lester B. Pearson Award, the Player's Choice for the league's most outstanding player.
If you're talking about Sidney Crosby, now you're talking about the best player on the ice. He had a great season. He was only 19 years old. That's amazing what that player can do at that young age, and now he's just going to get better and better.
I think the best offensive player is Sidney Crosby. I think he brings it every night. Even though he's a young player, he's such a gifted player that I would rank him as one of the best.
For Sidney Crosby, it's just a matter of time to really determine how great a player he's going to be, because he has all the tools. He has the mental makeup, maybe better than anybody I've ever seen at his age. There's no telling what he can accomplish.
The NHL operates under an unspoken rule of ethics, one in which experience is wisdom and wisdom is respected. This is a league of men who wear the lessons they've learned as scars. A league in which every stitch tells a story. And there are a lot of stories. There are rites of passage on the ice. And no one is granted instant respect from their peers. And yet, on May 31st, 2007, 68 days shy of his 20th birthday, Sidney Crosby's teammates bestowed upon him the most hallowed title in hockey, captain.
I think leadership is more doing things on the ice than really talking off the ice. Obviously, there's something that has to be said. You know, when the time comes and it feels natural, you say it. But for me, actions have always spoke louder than words, and I've always tried to lead by example on the ice, whether it's scoring a big goal or setting one up or blocking a shot, taking a face off, doing those little things that it takes to win hockey games. If you do those, hopefully everyone else can follow. I think being a captain brings responsibility. And for me, I think I'm ready for that responsibility. I've only played 2 years, and a lot of guys, play a lot longer before they get to see it. I understand that, and that's why it was important to me when I did get to see that. I talked to some veterans on the team first, just out of respect. It was important to me that they knew that I wasn't going to try to approach anything any different. Every single guy said take it. It's a huge honor, and guys like Gary Roberts, Mark Recchi, now Daryl Sador, these guys are guys that I'm going to learn from. I'm wearing the C, but I really felt comfortable more so because of that, because I was lucky to have those guys to lean on.
Well, he is the franchise. He's the franchise player. He has his head on straight. He knows where he wants to go, and that's to win a championship.
Every year, we want to try to get to the Stanley Cup final and win it, but you can't get caught looking ahead. There's too many teams that are good, and too many good teams miss the playoffs. You look at last year, the battles that go on, and you got to get there. So, that's the most important thing, is getting there. Now, we certainly have a good team.
Blazes away. He scores!
We'll have to make sure that we have a strong regular season to get in the playoffs.
But for Crosby, the playoffs have never been the ultimate goal.
The Stanley Cup is something that you see lifted every year, and every time you see it lifted, you just get that feeling that that's something you want to do. And I think for the first time this year, watching it get hoisted, I was a little bit disappointed. Before I was, something I enjoyed watching, but for the first time this year, it didn't feel like, oh, that's a great moment. That's, this is something that I want to do. So it's changed now that I'm here, and, hopefully going to have that opportunity.
She's a young goalie. She dreams of playing for Canada in the Olympics. That's her on the right. You probably recognize the guy on the left already. He's already played for Canada in the Olympics. But to Taylor Crosby, Sidney Crosby is just her big brother, albeit somewhat bemused at the fact that she decided to become a goalie and not go into the family business of scoring goals.
I'm sure he was a little bit shocked, but he supports me 100%, and he gives me the player looks on things, and I don't always like to hear what he has to say, but we're both very stubborn, so I try to take as much as I can from him, because obviously he has a lot of experience.
You guys take shots?
A couple times, yeah. It was a bit harder than I thought it was going to be, but no, I stopped a couple. And maybe a few more in the future.
No big story as to how Taylor decided to be a goalie. She was 10, not a great skater. She went to a hockey camp, strapped on the pads, and loved it. Perhaps one day we'll be talking about Taylor's prowess as a goalie. But right now, she's still Sidney Crosby's sister. And you know what? She's cool with that.
You know, sometimes there's pressure and there's negative things, but then, you know, on the other side, he's just my brother. You know, I'm really proud of him, and I wouldn't want it to be any other way.
Is he a good brother?
Yes, he's like any other brother, you know. He picks on me, you know, I don't like listening to him. We're both very stubborn, like I said, so sometimes we get in little fights, but, you know, we both love each other, and just like any other.